I'm going to record as well. All right. My name is Dr. Sharnael.
Hasn't come up yet. Hold on.
Oh, okay, tell me.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, we're live. Okay. Yes, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon. I am with Swiftfire True TV. Super excited to have Jen Mccarty on here with us today. Seems like we have a lot of mutual friends, and it's just been me patiently waiting to be able to finally have this opportunity to sit with her today and discuss some of the things about what she's doing, where she's coming from. You know, I've been following her, and if you are not following her, definitely get on Facebook and, you know, all the things, every platform she has, because she's so inspirational, such a bright light, doing such massive work for the entire planet and beyond. And I'm just super honored to have you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so honored to be here as well. And it was, you know, it was tricky getting us to align, but we're here now and it's hectic times. It looks like we're going into the 10 days of darkness. And so the energies are really intense. Archie's just going a bit ballistic. Archie, sit. So, yeah, my doggy. Let's just,
oh,
say hello.
Awesome.
Mwah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of animals too. I'm a foster mom, and so we've got several. Actually,
Oh, thank you for being a foster mom.
I've had 89 kittens in my house over the last 2 years. We just like get them and then take care of them, bottle feed them, get them till their weight, and then we adopt them out. And as a matter of fact, I'm picking up one as soon as I get off the phone with you, or off this video with you. So.
Oh, that's such a beautiful job. Thank you.
So I'm not going to be completely honest and say just to my viewers too, because I've got a few, and because of my background, which is science and also spiritual communities, some of the language that you hear from Jen today may be slightly different than what you're used to, and I'm just going to encourage everybody who's not familiar with her or the language that she speaks to please be open and to follow her and just allow Spirit to speak to you, and to because look, what I was telling her off the camera here a few minutes ago is especially with everything ramping up, I've been interviewing a lot of people, and they're definitely different than people that we've had on our show before on purpose. And the reason why is because if we don't step outside of our belief system, the word believe meaning to be alive in, if we don't even entertain or have the courage to step out and to look from a broader, bigger picture at some of the other things that are out there and or going on and even available to us, then we're not going to get the big picture. We're only going to see the tiny little space that we're in and the boxes that we're in. And so I want to encourage you guys to just be really open to what she's saying, whether you agree or understand. I promise you that your spirit will be getting everything, because I can tell you with what I've seen, her heart is pure. She has a resonance of authenticity. She moves in character and in love. And that's what I always look for with anyone that I bring on the show, is what's the undercurrent here? What, you know, no guile, no motives here. She is just literally on the planet to help raise the planet. And that is a friend. If you know, we got to stick together and work with each other. And so tell me a little bit how you even, I mean, I'm background in the military. I actually lived in England twice. I went to school, University of London. So I'm very familiar with where you live. Love Europe, love England, lived in Germany. And so, I mean, London and England, and specifically, is one of the few places that when I leave, I cry. I really feel like an attachment and a responsibility and or call somewhat to the land there. And so for even more purposes, you being here and us connecting brings a whole different level. But tell us, how in the world did you get in this space of what you're doing for the planet?
Well, I had a very, very powerful spiritual awakening when I was 21, and it was the first time that I went to India, and I met this lady. We were going on this trek up to high up in the Himalayas to Mount Kailash, which is the sort of like abode of Shiva, you could say. And just prior to this trek, this Italian woman manifested, and she said to me, "You must chant the mantra Om Namah Shivaya." And I'd never heard of the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, but she was so adamant that I must chant this mantra. So so that's OMNAMAHSHIVAYA, so Om Namah Shivaya. And so I chanted, you know, I repeated that mantra maybe like about 30,000 times that day. And I got to the top of the mountain, and I had this strong feeling that I needed to be on my own. And I left the group, and I was just chanting Om Namah Shivaya, and I looked up at the sky, and I just saw this flash of light appeared, and I realized in that moment that I was in the presence of God, that my third eye just blasted open. And I wasn't looking for God, and I didn't even know really I even had a third eye, but I just had like a spontaneous, like massive Kundalini awakening, and my third eye just completely blasted open from being sealed shut. And suddenly I realized that God was not the man of the religions that my Catholic religion had told me about, that I'd really rebelled against and rejected. God was their energy of creation, of love, of eternal love. And I understood, like, so with my third eye being opened, I understood like deep spiritual and esoteric truths that would take, like, you know, encyclopedia worth of information was just being downloaded to me instantly. And so I understood implicitly about the oneness of all creation, that every single grain of sand and every single blade of grass and every flower and every star is perfectly interwoven into the tapestry of creation. And every single part of creation is a perfect reflection of God. And so all that exists is oneness. So I understood implicitly that all is one. There is no separation, that separation is a lie, and that separation is a construct of the ego. It's the third dimensional construct of the ego. And so I had this experience with my third eye blasting open, and then I suddenly felt the spirit of all these ascended beings. And I felt the spirit of John Lennon, Bob Marley, Gandhi, Magdalene, Archangel Michael, Yeshua, Babaji. They're the ones that I could recognize. And they were all like they had like maracas going, woohoo, oh my God, like one soul has woken up. Like, it's no mean feat to wake up in the Matrix. And they were like, woohoo, they were like having a high dimensional party, that because I'd literally had done it. I'd like stepped over into the threshold of awakeness. Do you know what I mean? And so the light then entered through my crown, and it sort of traveled down, and it got to my solar plexus, no, it got to my navel center. And that's where I had carried a lot of the fear, because I was very highly intelligent, very deep philosophical person. And so I believed in separation. I was quite invested in the idea of separation, that I was alone, that you know, I did have a lot to be afraid of. But as this light, this existential light of creation entered through me, and as it got to my navel center, it was like I just started crying, and I just started releasing, because I knew that every single moment that I'd had a fearful thought, it was an illusion, because if it's not love, it's not real. And so I just understood deeply and implicitly that only love is eternal and only love is real. And so all of those, so I realized I've been carrying like sort of like a burden of illusion, you know, like really believing my fears, believing they were real. So I just had this like sense of relief, like, oh my God, none of it's real. Like, the only thing that's real is God. Like, that is literally the only thing that is real is God, and God is love, and love is truth. So God, love, and truth are synonymous with each other. They mean exactly the same thing. There's no separation from God and truth. God is truth. So I had this really powerful experience, and after it, I was guided then to go and tell my soul brother Dean what had happened. And when I told Dean what had happened, the same thing had happened to him when he was 21. So that was like really amazing. I was like, oh my God, wow, that was amazing. And but with Dean, so when I met Dean, I was told by my because I meditated at that time, and I'd connected with my angels, and I knew that my masculine angel was called Christopher. And when I got to India, I was having downloads prior to my spiritual awakening that I was going to be meeting Christopher. So when I met Dean, the very first thing he said to me was that his spiritual name is Christopher.
Wow.
So after I had this experience of my Kundalini spiritual awakening, I looked at Dean and I recognized him. I saw Christ in him. I absolutely 1,000,000 bazillion% saw Christ in him. And I just saw it in his vulnerability. I saw it in his face. And it was like, once you see, you cannot unsee. And then because it was so clear, it was like clear as day, clear as the sun in the sky, that he's Christ, the Christ self dwells in him. I automatically knew that it must be in me as well. Otherwise I wouldn't have recognized it in him. And then I realized, I was like, oh my God, it's in everyone. It's in absolutely everyone. Like, we're all Christ. No one realizes. no one, like, they fail to mention that in school, that we're all Christ beings, and we all have that seed of Christ within us, and it has to sprout to become the flame or the fruit of the Christ. But so in that moment, this is what, so the second day of my awakening, I connected with Dean, and then I had all these other downloads of recognizing the Christ in him, realizing it is in me, realizing it's in everyone. And then I started getting like just downloads, and it was like the angels of the highest celestial realms were like singing to me about the nature of reality. So prior to my awakening experience, I really, really did not know what love is. I did not know what eternity was. I did not know what infinity is. I didn't know what timelessness is. They were all two-dimensional words. I had absolutely no insight or comprehension in what those words truly mean. But on the second day of my awakening, I was just getting like literally just like angelic choruses pouring through my consciousness, explaining to me about the nature of reality and about what these words truly, truly mean on the deepest, juiciest level of what they really mean. And so basically I had this experience where my third eye was like blasted open. And then from that moment, then every single person that I met, I had access to their Akashic records. So I'd be able to pull through information about their primary soul mission, the major blocks that they've come here to clear, their path of mastery. It was like I would just be able to meet someone, and it would just be, I would be like imprinted with information on a very, very deep psychic level about their soul's journeys. Always about the soul. It's like I became fluent in soul language, you could say. That is the perfect way to describe me, really, is that I'm fluent in soul language. So that's what happened to me, and that was when I was 21. And obviously, you know, I was coming up to my birthday on Sunday, and I'm going to be 47. So I've spent my whole adult life being awake, and it's been very, very lonely.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. That is pretty powerful. And just for everyone who's listening and on my side, or my people that are introduced to this, please do your due research and studying how to clear the pineal, how to decalcify the pineal. There's so many different things, because this Kundalini, she's calling it, experience is actually a scientific thing. And I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor. You know, that kind of seemed like oogie boogie to me when I very first was introduced to it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, what is that? And that sounds weird. But there's actually a science to everything that she's saying. There's real data. And what happens is there's fluid that goes up the spine that basically trips all the electric circuits of your body, comes up to your brain, ignites brain cells into your brain that maybe have been dormant and or kind of asleep, you know, whatever, and maybe even dead. It can resurrect them, and then it kind of shoots back down. And there's lots of teachings that you can get out there, but it actually you can apply it to biblical if that's your choice, or science, or whatever. You can look into all of these things and check that out. The pineal gland is often referred to as the third eye, but also it's just a scientific thing that every single person has. And if we are not keeping that clear and decalcified, then that does cause the separation. It does cause the illusion of separation, I should say. And doesn't give us not only the ability to connect with God, because this is a major antenna that allows us to connect with God, but also, like she was just talking about, connects us to this other, to the entire world, who we're all just a mirror of each other. And when she was talking about Christ and everyone being Christ, or everyone reflecting Christ, we have the Christ consciousness in our DNA. We have the DNA signature in our very, very cells. It's just if we're awake to it or not. It's just if we're actually walking into the power that we already are. The word Christian, by definition, means to follow Christ. How do you follow what you already are inside on every DNA level that's in your cells? Like, so I don't really love the word Christian, just because by definition in conscious language, how do you follow something out there when everything's inside already? It's just, are we awake to the power of everything that God, love, truth is, and walking in that on a regular, moment to moment to moment, will by will by will? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a really, really great way to explain it. And Archie's being super hectic. He's being a complete pain in the backside, I'm not going to lie. And so I'm just trying to manage Archie. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And it's so wonderful that you have that ability to be able to take those spiritual experiences and to be able to articulate them in a way that people that are interested in science and stuff like that are going to be able to understand. And I knew that when I had my experience, that it was a scientific experience. Like, I never ever doubted the efficacy of my experience. Like, and now the thing is, a lot of people that have these experiences that I had, basically, if it happens in the West, then it's very easy that your family will then label you as like unstable, or that you need to get sectioned or something like that. But because my experience happened in India, and that was really a great thing. But the fact of the matter is, I'm a very, very grounded person. Like, it's completely and utterly in my astrology. That I've got moon in Capricorn, rising sign Capricorn, Mars in Taurus. Like, I'm very, very earthed. So even though I was having the most extraordinary experience of consciousness, my feet never left the ground. I was always completely and utterly present to what was going on in the moment, in the reality of the moment. So, but unfortunately, a lot of people that have these experiences, they don't have that gift of groundedness, and it can be really, really misunderstood. Yeah,
and when she's talking about the records, please understand, she's referring to code and libraries that we all carry within our biofield. And I have a whole book on that, on the science part of that. But what she's saying is, when she tapped into all that, she was able to suddenly see what's going on with each individual person and be able to help them. Because if we could all know what we're supposed to be doing here on the planet and really walk it out and actually remember who we are and the powerful beings that we are, then nothing's going to stop us from not only changing as an individual with responsibility, responsible, but that as each of us do the inner work on an individual basis, that's changing the whole collective of the entire planet and beyond. And so I love that that is a gift that you have and that you've tapped into. I wish everybody was tapping into that. And I could tell you how, on a science level, to decalcify using things like Divana tea, Divana essential oils, ghee instead of butter, making sure you have no fluoride in the house or your toothpaste or your water, eggs, the yolk of the eggs, is the oranger that it is going to be helpful. Anything we can do to decalcify is obviously going to be helpful. But let's jump forward a little bit, because you're now on like an international support to so many, not only because of all the collaborations that you have and people that you're working with and have been able to network with and round up, but there's something really amazing happening right now. And talk to us a little bit about, elections and, you know, the world changes here that we're living and experiences right now, and what we can do as individuals with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, what can be perceived, it can be perceived from a multi-dimensional perspective. So there's like a third dimensional chess game that's getting played out, a 4D chess game and a 5D chess game. My focus is predominantly on the 5D chess game. That's where I'm orientated. And so, you know, on the 5D chess game, the white hat's got the looking glass technology, and, you know, they knew about what was coming, and they knew about all the deep state black hat moves, and they were able to counterbalance them through the use of the technology, of the looking glass technology. So the white hats, like, they know on the 5D what's going on, but what it looks like to us on the third dimensional level is that the vast amount of humanity is still asleep, and is still just like sucking up the mask thing, and just, you know, and it's just completely forgotten who they are. Because the thing is that humans are so beautiful, like, we're God's creation, and so we're essentially exquisite in nature, and we want to be good. We innately want to do good, and we want to be good girls and boys, like, we do. It's just part of our DNA. And so if we're programmed to believe that our governments care about us and that they are guiding us in the right way, then we're going to go along with that, because that is the nature of humanity. We're just beautiful souls, most of us. But so it takes someone, like, you know, you have to be rebellious. Like, I pride myself in being an extraordinary rebel. I won't take none of the programming, like the aging program, the lack program, the karmic relationship program. Like, I'm just like, that's not me. I know who I am. I'm a Christ being, and I'm an avatar goddess. And so my consciousness and my DNA has the ability to maintain this vessel for up to 2,000 years. Thank you very much. I won't be taking on your programming, your false archonic aging program. So you've got to be a rebel. You've got to be a rebel. You've got to rebel against the programs. And that's what everyone is being given, this opportunity to rebel, you know, and to say, no, 2 + 2 is 4. 2 + 4 does not equal 5, you know, and that's what the governments are all trying to do. They're trying to, you know, like, make illogicality logical. And most people are like, because they're so nice, they're like, oh, all right, okay, well, I did think 2 + 2 is 4, but now the government's saying 2 + 2 is 76. We'll just go with it. All right.
Right. Yeah, crazy.
And then we're like, no, but it's always 4. 2 + 2 is always 4. They're like, how dare you, you conspiracy theorist? How dare you say that 2 + 2 is 4? So you have to be a rebel, and you know, yeah. Archie, get down. You're being so naughty. You are the naughtiest doggy ever. Sorry.
No. So where do we start? Because I know that you're doing everything you can. You're doing meditation, collective meditations. You're doing posts. There's a lot of digital warriors who are there just doing their best to do their sphere. I know I'm doing my best to do my sphere, people, and just get the word out in a hope and a prayer that whoever is ready will see whatever I present at the time with whoever I have. And maybe your voice is the one, or maybe Charlie's voice is the one, or Robert Steele, or Carrie Cassidy, or Laura. I mean, we're so diverse, and it takes different people sometimes to say the same thing in a different way that does that ignites that awakening. And, you know, I appreciate what you're doing. What do you suggest for people, just regular Joe Blows at home, who haven't yet awakened? And I'm sure you're running into people who are like just zombies, and it's like, oh my gosh, you just want to wake them up and go, don't you see this? And it's like, ooh.
So my attitude is that I think that, you know, I'm not invested in anyone waking up, even close members of my family, because I think you've made a deal with God. You've sat at the feet of Mother, Father, God, and you've planned out your destiny. You've planned out your timeline. So it's not my job to interfere with you. A lot of my family are choosing to stay asleep, and I respect that. I respect that. I respect everyone's choice that they make. Now, you know, people don't believe me, because it's like, for example, Liam's like, really, like, he wants people to wake up, but that puts you in such a weak position. Like, I'm in a really powerful position because I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I'm not invested in you personally. Like, that's between you and God, love. Do you know what I mean? It's really, all I can do is follow my passion and follow my truth. And, you know, people that are on the awakening path, people that, like, if you sort of think of your spiritual eyes, they're not sealed shut, they're a little bit open. I appeal to those people with their spiritual eyes a little bit open. So they're open to those vibrations. I haven't really got time for people that eyes are sealed shut. If you want to just suck it all up, that's your path. If you want to send your kid to school in a mask for 8 hours, and your kid's going to come home with like all mad scars and shit on their face, like that, you needed the extra boot up your backside. I'm not going to feel sorry for you, because you can do the research. We've all done the research. We didn't want to do the research. I didn't want to find out about what I've had to find out. No one wants to find that out, but I know now, and everyone has access to the internet. So I really, like, I'm not invested. All I can do is keep, you know, working with the people that want to wake up, the people whose consciousness, like, wants to keep on expanding. That's my job. And if I do meet people, like, you know, I meet sort of like 3D asleep people, I'm just loving and respectful. And I just like, you know, you're at where you're at. And that's cool. That's between you and God.
Yes, no judgment. And because I have been there and I understand, but then there's also, like, I guess the timing thing of just like, oh my gosh, we're so close and it's so big, and I just wish you could see. But you're right. I need to, like, just calm down and be like, it is what it is, and you're at where you're at, and be okay with that, and not have any expectation, because I think that's where we can get disappointed. And talk about spiritual hygiene, because with what's come up, and bots and whoever narratives, you know, that come on social media, and oh my gosh, the hate on YouTube on Twitter today, just the literal psychic murder attacks of just, you know, Trump saying, you know, that he's stepping out or whatever because of the scary virus. And I mean, literally people are like, yay, and all of this crazy stuff. And I mean, I'm finding it easier and easier to block, because I just don't have time. But tell me what your thoughts are on that.
On specifically how to deal with toxic people online?
Yeah, I mean, it's just spiritual hygiene in general.
Well, I don't. I have a very, very strict block policy, and one strike and you're out with me. So unless I only allow people into my digital space and into my heart space if you're loving and respectful. And so you're always welcome to engage with me if you're loving and respectful. If it ever comes out of that vibration, I'm done. I'm absolutely, completely done. And that's just the way that I've decided to deal with the amount of people that I am dealing with. You know, and it works for me. It keeps my space very, very, very clean. And, you know, and a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm not going on Facebook anymore because, you know, all the masks and all the, and I'm like, I don't follow people like that. Like, those people just are not part of my vibrational reality anymore. But what I know that I do is, because I've got quite a far reach now, I know that I'll put a post out and it will get shared like 100, 150 times. And so that's a seed. Like, we cannot underestimate the power of planting seeds. Like, there's not a personal investment in you waking up, but we can all plant seeds. We can all expose as many people as possible to this information, so that at least they're getting some kind of exposure. So, but is there anything, hygiene of my digital space? Yeah, I mean, I think just, yeah, I'm just really, I have a lot of self-love. Like, I am a true embodier of self-love, and I don't take any shit. I mean, I'm really, really super loving and generous and kind, but I will never ever take shit from anyone on any level. And I just think that we all need to get to that place, you know, because the way I see it is that I'm God's daughter. My little baby girl self is so precious to God. I remember how precious I am. And so God gave parent Jen, adult Jen, the job to look after little baby Jen. And that's my job. And so I will do everything to protect her. That she's my priority. And so I will not allow toxic energy into my field on any level whatsoever. And that is self-love in action. You know, but that's not to say, like, say for example, I block someone and then I've got all these other like platforms like Instagram, Twitter, Gmail. People can write to me and say, Jen, I'm really, really sorry about that, how that interaction went. Well, I've really reflected on it and blah, blah, blah. So if you come back to me with love and respect, we can rekindle our connection. But if you, and also, I don't tolerate Trump hatred. I do not tolerate it. And that's been a bit triggering for a lot of people, because there's obviously a lot of people have hated him. But I see him as like, I absolutely adore him, and I thank God for him every single day. And I am so grateful for him. And I know that we manifested Trump. We, all of us that had reached that fifth dimensional plateau within our own consciousness, we affected the timeline of planet Earth.
Yes.
And so I don't see him as a savior. I see him as a reflection of the vibration that we all manifested. Like me coming into awakening or enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, that was part of the vibration that called Mr. POTUS into the White House. I see him as a starseed, like one of the 144,000, but he has a very, very unique role that he can sign the executive orders. He can sign the executive orders in the White House to give the land back to the natives, to stop animal cruelty, to, you know, to give the dignity back to the Black community, to, like, he has that power to sign those executive orders. So I personally have, like, to say I have deep respect for him is the biggest understatement I will ever utter. My respect for him knows no bounds. So I will not tolerate any hatred towards him.
Good. I love that. And how is that, what is the climate of Trump in general in the UK? Because we've seen marches in all these other countries where people are actually saying, what about me? What about us, Trump? And like asking for help. It's like, it's interesting how other countries are actually marching for and standing up for truth, and then here in the States, you know, riots and burning down things, and you know, that's just like, what is going on? But you are seeing marches and what have you where you are, or I've seen some of your videos that you posted, but how do people perceive Trump besides you? I know that you have.
Yeah. So I live in Glastonbury, and in Glastonbury, it's like California. It's like lefty liberal central, where everyone's just gone down this program of leftism. And so obviously that has been a program which has been an anti-Trump program, you know, and obviously like the media have done a number on everyone. They put billions and billions of dollars into AI programming to make everyone hate Trump, and it's worked. It has worked. So I can only speak about my little town of Glastonbury, and I would say it's like probably 80% liberal haters. So my stance has caused me a lot of trouble in this town, because they see me as a traitor to hippies, because this is like a real sort of bohemian hippie town, and because I'm like the only person that's actually got a platform really on social media, they're like, they are disgusted with me. They're like, they feel like I'm a traitor. They think I've lost my mind. They think I've gone mentally ill. And like, so I had like loads of people all colluding together saying, we actually think Jen has lost the plot. And they contacted my mum, and my mum is a serious Trump hater. She said to me that she thinks he is the most dangerous man that has ever walked on this earth.
Wow.
That's what she said. I was like, I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. She says he's the most dangerous man that's ever walked on the face of the earth, even though he hasn't started one single war. He's brought all the troops home, and he literally stands for peace. So you can't argue with that. But my mum is a typical example of this left socialist ideology that has completely and utterly taken over logic and reasoning, you know? And so I'm surrounded by that. I'm surrounded by Trump haters, but I don't care.
That's got to be difficult, because I'm very fortunate that my parents are extremely on board with Trump, and my partner is completely awake. So I've run into people who are in the same position that you are, with, whether it's siblings or family or what have you, and in partnership even, where people are on completely different sides, and you know, it's really caused problems even in their marriages because of that. But talk to me about your mission regarding the children and Trump's role in that, because honestly, I've asked this question a few times. I've put it out there a few times, and I've said, honestly, tell me one politician that's ever been in a role of anything leadership, whether it's the president or any kind of role, that has mandated and made an order to put an emphasis on saving children. And I've yet to have anyone come back and give me a name of a single person, because I don't think there is any. I mean, maybe, and if you know of any, or someone who's listening can give me a name, let me know a name. But Trump is literally has signed an executive order to end trafficking, not just children, but trafficking in general. And I know that's a big part of your mission. So please share with me what you think is really going on with some of that.
Yeah, no, I think that most of them are complicit in these heinous crimes for some reason. It's all like this old men's club, isn't it? And you know, you have to do these crimes to children to get into the club, and then you're blackmailed, and they've got you by the balls, and then you are part of the club. You know what I mean? So so obviously, and if you become a whistleblower, you die, like, you know, with all the Clintons and that, they just like killed them all. They just killed all the whistleblowers. So, you know, he was the only one that had the wherewithal to stand against them. And, you know, a lot of people say, why is he associated with Epstein? Well, he had to be associated with Epstein because he had to go into that disgusting world to actually see firsthand what they're up to, so that when he got into his position of power, he could like pull the rug from under their feet and take them all down. Thank you very much. So that's what's going on with that. And with the children, you know, well, I come from a family of sexual abuse. There's been, like, in my lineage, there's been, you know, sexual abuse. And I remember when I was a little girl, I wasn't abused, luckily, but my other generations were. But I remember as a little girl, I grew up in Hampstead, and in Hampstead, that's like one of the worst places. The children's homes in Hampstead was like the worst. Like, they would put Hollywood to shame. Like that was like the mother sort of core of where the abuse was born from, was these children's homes in Hampstead. So I went to school in Hampstead. I was like lived 5 minutes from there. So it was interesting that I was sort of like strategically placed in such an incredibly dense part of the world. But I remember, like, my parents' generation was like, well, that just happens. Children get abused. Happens all the time. But for me, it's like, not on my watch. Like, I refuse to live in a world where children are being sacrificed. I refuse to live in a world where children are being abused. And so I will use every single power that I have to be a voice for those children. And the only reason why it stayed so sort of like, you know, kind of hidden is because it has been hidden in the shadows. So people like myself, we're shining a big light. We're like, oh, that's what happened in that children's home in Hampstead. Oh, that's what Tom Hanks did to that child. It's like, we are now exposing it, and so it cannot live in the underbelly of the shadows anymore. So people like myself are raising a lot of awareness. Like, people didn't know. I only recently found out about the deep underground military bases, and that was just before COVID. And I found Gene on what's his name, I can't remember, Jean, who does about the DUMS. And I must admit that was the hardest red pill of my life. And it disturbed me so deeply when I found out about the deep underground military bases and about the children that were being kidnapped and all the, you know. So what I did was I then used my platform to bring a huge amount of awareness to this research, what I was finding out. And then loads of people were contacting me saying, Jen, I've been working in mental health. I know that I'm meant to work with these children. Please, can you hook me up? So by just exposing this, we're gathering an army of amazing souls who are going to be there for these children, you know. So that's how it's sort of like translating onto a practical level, you know. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's infiltrated every aspect. I mean, not just politics, like I mentioned previously, but you brought up Tom Hanks, and we're talking about Hollywood, we're talking about the music industry, we're talking about the military with my lab. You know, it's across the board in every arena of all the things. Unfortunately, I grew up military, and we were stationed in Montauk, and I know about the DUMS. Unfortunately, as a child, they took me out of my classroom, and there's a lot of stuff that happened with that. So and you know, the memories that I've had, you know, growing up of these little like blank little pieces of things, it's I didn't have a context for it because it didn't make any sense in the world that I knew of the programming that we're in now, and they do all kinds of things to make sure you don't remember. But when some of this stuff, it's a long thing, and I'm in my own healing process too. So it just makes me so, I'm with you on making sure that children are safe and that they can be brought up in a carefree, loving, fun, playful time where we can all just enjoy life and play and be outside and ride our bikes and, you know, deal with school or just the regular things instead of all of this, you know, mess. And I know you work with like Sasha Stone and Magenta and all these other guys, and Robert Steele I've had on, and all these other guys too. And, you know, there is so much evidence about it, and yet if I bring this up, people actually don't believe me still. And it's like, you know, they want proof, and they don't understand, you know, too, about, you know, these earthquakes and, you know, the cloning places underground, and, you know, all of this stuff. I mean, this is very, very real. And when it is brought all out, and people won't have any choice but to actually be exposed to it, I think people are just going to maybe just lose their minds. Because, I mean, you said that it was a tough red pill. You know, when they started talking about the DUMS and showing everything underground, I mean, my recollection was naked kids in cages, eating dog food, you know, having all these testing. Yeah. So it's like, at that minute, you're just like, why am I thinking that? Why does that come? And why are they always the same pictures? Like, it's not like an imagination where you're like, you know, it's like, why would you even be thinking that? And then some of the behaviors and things that I have done growing up, it makes sense when I could see where it came from. But we are definitely in a time where this is an important time. If this is something that you don't believe, me or her or all the other people that we've both interviewed, I mean, Sasha Stone, my God, he is, you know, he's taken on world leaders and brought them together for great commissionings just for the sake of saving children. And, you know, do your due diligence and look into some of this stuff that's not on the regular news. Please, I'm asking you, just check into it. And thank you for what you're doing to bring light to it, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about where we are as far as, you know, I know you just posted something about Trump, you know, going because of this COVID thing, and him being away, and maybe 10 days of darkness or anything like that. Do you have anything on that? Or do you really think he has been tested with COVID, or what are your thoughts on any of this?
It's difficult because, if you have inside information, for like, it's difficult whether that should be come out. Do you know what I mean? It's a fine line to cross. But I personally, this is what I personally feel, is that he doesn't have COVID, and it was a strategic genius chess move game. And I was just talking to Liam about the 10 days of darkness, and I don't know what that's going to look like. Like, I don't feel like the internet's going to go down. I know a lot of people have said that, but I can't see that timeline of the internet going down. So I'm not quite sure how this 10 days of darkness is exactly going to manifest. It could be something to do with the arrests. That's what I'm hearing at the moment, that the 10 days of darkness is in reference to the arrests. And my feeling is that Hillary is going to be the first big arrest. And I think that when I tune in, it feels like there's something about the HCQ medicine that is going to come into the forefront of this narrative, of this COVID narrative. And it's going to expose the pharmaceutical companies and their agenda. That's my feeling. Like, I've got a lot going on in my personal life at the moment, so I haven't really had the time to really go deep and to get the downloads, and I do want to, and I'm hoping that tomorrow I'm going to have the time and space to really, because I posted some incredible things today from really incredible researchers, and I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. I just knew that they were gold and I had to post them. But I think tomorrow I'll get a really good chance to actually digest that information, and then I'll be able to put the dots together on a deeper level. So today I think I'm going to be able to get a deeper insight, but this is my insight at the moment, which is pretty clear. I feel that there is something to do with the HCQ as coming in as a cure, and then possibly it just being exposed that all those people didn't have to die. Like, if there's a cure, then they didn't have to die. And so then that will shine a light on all the governors, that will shine a light on the medical, the hospitals, the care homes, all of these institutions that allowed for this. But, you know, I'm just going to lay my cards on the table here. You know, there are sort of like two timelines playing out. There's like the 5D New Earth timeline, and there's the New World Order hijack timeline, and they are both playing out concurrently at the moment. And what was I going to say about the New World Order timeline? Yeah, I just think that it's really important to understand that, you know, basically I did a video with Charlie Freak and Magenta Pixie a few days ago. What I said, it was like, are the white hats in control? That was the name of the video. And I opened the video by saying, guys, this is what I reckon. I reckon the deep state is like a pyramid monster. And it's got all these different heads that are coming out of the pyramid at different levels. What I was shown was that the highest echelons of these heads have been cut off. They are no longer thriving or living, you could say. But the lower echelons of this pyramidic monster, they still have some gumption and in their actions. So it feels like there literally is an attack against humanity taking place at the moment. Like, for example, with all of the restrictions in schools and stuff like that is a specific target to children, because obviously the New World Order plan is to take out the vulnerable. They want to cull the population. They think there's too many people on earth. They want to get rid of, like, you know, cull the population. So their first agenda is to cull the most vulnerable. So they're working on the elderly, people with health conditions, and children. So whether you can't just sit in a fairyland and say, oh, the white hats are in control on the 5th dimension, because on the 3rd dimension there is shit going down, you know. But then you could say, well, are the white hats cranking up this agenda, allowing these black hats to play out their role in order to wake up people? Because say, for example, you've got a mother, she's like, oh, just going along with it. Oh yeah, I'll just put a mask on my kid. Oh yeah, that's fine. She'll be all right. She can do social distancing. I've got to do my work. So this is an asleep mother of the highest order. She is asleep. She's programmed. But then she's going to send her little baby girl to school, and her baby girl's going to come home with all like scabs and like a mad disease on her face. Surely that's going to be her wake-up call. Surely she's going to be like, holy mother macaroni, like I can't be going along with the government. Like I have to, I'm not going to put my child's health at risk. So we all have to understand that there's all these different sort of like timelines that are playing out, and you get to choose. That's the whole point. You get to choose. I have not once wore a mask. I have not once had my temperature taken. I haven't done anything. I haven't, like, COVID doesn't even exist for me, because that's the timeline I'm on. Everyone has that choice, but so many people are just going along with it. Oh yeah, I went to a restaurant tonight and it was just pathetic, absolutely pathetic, the amount of people that have masks on. Like, I'm sorry, I was so disappointed in humanity. I was just like, you're all like, come on. Like, you know, you walk into a restaurant, you got your mask on, you sit down on the table, you take your mask off. You go to the toilet, you put your mask on. We're all sitting next to each other. What about this 6 people rule? It just doesn't make any sense. And me and Liam, we just go everywhere. We don't wear a mask.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is people, when I say that, people say, oh, but I live in a place that has a mandate or has a law. Well, first of all, a law and a mandate aren't the same thing.
Yeah,
and
correct.
it's not a law, and the mandate is unconstitutional. But they say that like because they don't live where I am and they just see me on social media. And if I make that comment, they say, oh, but I live here and there's a mandate. And it's like, I have the same mandate you do. I'm just not doing it. You know, you get the free will choice. People don't understand. What are they going to do? They're not going to arrest you. They can't. If everyone would just stop, then what would they do? There's nothing they could do.
There's nothing they can do. Like, and avoid shops that want to, like, you know, that require you to wear a mask. Why do you have to go into that shop? If that shop is saying to you track and trace and mask, like, why in God's earth would you go there? Are you that programmed that you're going to, like, you know, sacrifice your human dignity to get a blooming temperature gun aimed directly, infrared light at your pineal gland? Yep. Wake up, humanity. Yeah. Like, come on, you know. But I just think, like, you know, if you're going to make that choice, then that's your choice. You made that agreement with God. I'm beyond caring right now. If that's your personal choice that you've made, so be it.
Well, and here in the States, we actually had a federal judge say that it was unconstitutional. And we've had the CDC come out and say that they were wrong about all the numbers, which we've been talking about for, you know, months and months and months. And then I keep getting fact checked and put in Facebook jail and whatever for saying the truth as a doctor. And so it's like, okay, so you don't believe me, but then now the CDC has said it, and now a federal court judge has said it, and then you still don't believe me? And you still don't believe the CDC, and you still don't believe the judge who is ruling according to the Constitution, and yet nothing's changed. And you know, only Florida that I know of have actually lifted everything. And meanwhile, I think California is in full lockdown still, and it's just like, why? Unless there's more to it. You know, you've got to look and you've got to ask why. And I'm not saying you personally. I'm just saying in general. Yeah. People need to dig in and go, okay, if the CDC is saying this and this it's not constitutional, there's got to be something bigger going on here. Or like you said, most of them are just like, oh, but I just trust them. If they're saying we need to do this, there must be a reason, and just going along with it instead of recognizing, going back to what you said, consciousness, the DNA inside of us that is awake and has the opportunity to be the powerful beings that we are, and walk it out. Because it's one thing if you know something. It's another thing to walk it out and be God in action and take the action steps. And if we're going to sit around and be awake, but yet not do anything about it, that's no better than being asleep in the first place.
Correct. Yes, sister, I absolutely agree. And everyone is just being given an invitation. Are you going to comply to illogicality, or are you going to rebel to what is logical? it's a no-brainer for me, but I'm flabbergasted the amount of people that are complying to illogicality. I'm like, really? Really? You're doing that?
It's sad, and people are literally scared. They're doing it because they're literally afraid that they're going to catch something. I mean, I watch people, I see what they're doing, and they're afraid. They're afraid if you get too close, or if you step, past the X, or, I walked into an office the other day, and I've never had problems. This is the first time this has happened, where I walked in and someone was like, "Do you have your mask?" And I was like, I'm exempt. And then they said, "What does that mean?" And I had to explain.
No, you don't have to explain.
And within 2 minutes, someone else came and said, "Is there any way you can wait outside for me to get you this, because everyone is afraid inside?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, sure. I will be outside, and also I'm never coming back here. Like, you can bring me my stuff, and I'm also never coming back here." So I know it's really late for you where you're at. Do you have any final words? And also tell me tell everybody all the places where people can connect with you and see what you're doing. I know you have events and things coming up, and let's get everybody plugged in. That was a big goal for me, is to let people who are drawn and resonate to you to really, really connect with what you're doing.
So just, will this go out before tomorrow? Are you going to put this on your platforms before tomorrow? Because that would be ideal for me. Okay.
It's actually live on my Facebook right now.
Oh, great, great. So tomorrow I am going to be facilitating a very, very important ceremony for the collective. My gift or speciality, you could say, is in divine union and twin flames. I assist many people to come to the vibratory frequency to attract their twin flame. So I was shown that, between now and December the 21st, there's going to be a mass unions taking place with many, many, many of the first wave 144,000 twin flames. So this is all connected to this astrological alignment that's going to take place on the 21st of December. So what my team have showed me, that the major number one block that is blocking twins from coming together is a false belief that you don't deserve it, the false program that you are unworthy to receive the most blissful and ecstatic love of creation. And so tomorrow I'm going to be facilitating a ceremony whereby we're going to be completely and utterly removing this toxic program which basically has us all believing that we are not worthy for this godly divine love. So we're going to be removing that false program, and we're going to be putting in the true fifth dimensional program of worthiness, that we are all worthy, and we're going to be setting that into our field. So this is going to be a very, very important ceremony, especially if you identify as one of the 144,000 first wave twin souls. Then this is very, very, very important for you. But even if you can't show up, know that the work that we're going to be doing is going to be having a phenomenal effect on the collective. So the ceremony starts at 8:20 tomorrow night. It's in a secret group on Facebook. We'll put all my links for you to link up with me, and you can just email me and I'll send you the link to book, or I might even just send you the link to book, actually, Sharnael. And so that's a really, really important thing. I'm going to be doing 3 ceremonies up to equinox, up to solstice. The second one is going to be clearing sexual trauma, because what with all this shadow work around sexual abuse, a lot of us empaths are feeling really there's so much sexual trauma that we need to clear from our astral field and our physical field and all our fields, emotional field and spiritual. So the next ceremony, which I'm going to do before the December 21st, is going to be a recalibration of our sexuality and a healing of our sexual trauma. Very, very important work for the collective. And and there's going to be another one as well. It's past my mind, but also I'm going to be doing a 10/10 global transmission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I host these transmissions once or twice a month, and on the equinox transmission we had 500 people sign up. I think that was the most that I've had sign up. And so on the 10/10 we're going to be working with assisting the collective to transition from this binary 1 and 0 system to the quantum system. This is all part of this big massive shift that's going to take place after December the 21st, that we're going to shift from this binary kind of like system of one and naught to the quantum system. So this is really, really exciting. We're also going to be working with hijacking the moon, doing an angelic hijack of the moon, because there's a lot of nefarious energies have entered into the moon matrix, and it's very important that we clear them. So we're going to do a massive takeover, angelic takeover of the moon matrix. And also we're going to be doing, there's going to be a relationship shuffle. So what my team have shown me, that there are partners that like are not of the highest spiritual caliber that are in relationships at the moment, but there needs to be a shake up. So it's a bit like a line dance where you and everyone change partners. But yeah, so this is going to be really, really big in terms of assisting in that shift of those new wave of relationships that are going to be coming in from the 21st of December. This is such a crucial point for us all, because this is when Jupiter goes into 0 degree Aquarius. And I happen to have in my chart Jupiter at 0 degrees Aquarius. And I had my chart done recently, and the astrologer was right. He's like, oh my God, like you really are a really powerful leader, and like you really are going to be like, you know, well known in the new earth and blah, blah, blah. And it was all to do with this astrological alignment. So my Jupiter's in 0 degrees Aquarius, and it lines up on the 21st of December in Jupiter in 0 degrees Aquarius. Boom. Wow. Yeah, so this is going to mark the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Awesome. So we're going to be doing a lot of preparatory work now with the collective to prepare everyone for this big shift.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys will take some time to check all of those things out and check out all of her platforms so you can find her, especially if there ends up being some sort of censorship issue. You don't want to just connect on one. You want to get all of them, because if one goes down, you still have access to the other. I know she's on Instagram and other things too. For me, if you can go to swiftfire.org, you can subscribe there too, because I have a few hits myself, and I really do hope to stay up. We're moving some things onto a different platform just to be aware. But if there is a disconnect, if I have your email, then you guys are all safe when we can still connect and figure out where we're headed to. But yeah, check out swiftfire.org. A lot of the things that she was talking about on a spiritual level can be explained on a science level in this book called The Science of Miracles. And it's about, it's actually called The Science of Miracles, Remembering the Frequency of Love. And I say remembering in a specific literal consciousness way of, this is our remember, to realign, whether it's divine partnership and or just the awareness of the Christ consciousness in each cell, and actually actively walking that out in experience instead of, you know, all the programming. You know, you can check these things out too. And I'd love to send this to you, Jen. I'll get your address and I'll send that to you too.
Thank you.
I also have these crystal cards. I've been studying a lot on the power of Tesla and crystals and how they work with your biofield and how they move. And I'm going to send you that too. But I love you so much. You are an amazing, brilliant, radiant beam of light. And I just love you so much. And please keep doing what you're doing. And the purity of heart that you walk in is just tangible. It's so authentic. I'm going to cry. So you're so authentic and so loving. And I can't even believe, I mean, I'm just so enamored that we got time together finally. And I hope to have you back on again another time soon in the future, maybe sometime before the December mark. We can
that would be great. I'd love to come back. It's been really, really great. I've really, really loved our connection and our alchemy. And yeah, I've got a lot of energy from this chat. And yeah, it's going to be great to meet your audience and your community. And yeah, I look forward to reading the comments, and I'm sure I'm going to get lots of lovely emails. And yeah, I'm really happy to meet you.
Awesome.
So I'm going to stop the recording now, everyone. So thank you all so much. Please, can you share this video, brothers and sisters? It's going to help so many people, and it's just going to bring inspiration to lots and lots of brothers and sisters of yours. You know, you got to have this experience of watching it. Now you can share it so that people that you love can also be in the vibration of this conversation. So let's just get this message out there, and I'll see all of you tomorrow on the worthiness ceremony. God bless us all.
Bless you so much. Have a sweet dreams tonight. Get some rest. Thank you.
Thanks, love.
Okay, bye-bye.
Oh, I've stopped the live stream.
All right.